Welcome to this webinar on electrification of the fleet in logistics. I'm very proud that we have so many audience, so much participants in this audience. We have people coming from Sweden, even from China, United Kingdom, Germany, the Netherlands, of course, Belgium. So it's really interesting to see that we gain so much attention on this webinar, and I hope we can deliver on your expectations. Okay, going to Simacan. You know us, of course, or I think most of us know us. We are an execution management platform which helps retailers in the execution of their planning and their distribution. But that's all about Simacan. Going to our topic. Our topic is electrification of the fleet. And why do we do this? Or what's our agenda? Our agenda is that we have until 3 o'clock in the afternoon with some very cool presentations from Hans from Scania on the most important issues towards electrification. We have Sanne Elversen from Districon, a consultancy company, going to talk about the influence on the battery capacity, and Peter Dame from Equans on the charging infrastructure, but I will introduce them later on. First of all, why is electrification of the fleet so important? Oh, sorry, another thing. We love to interact with you. So if you have any questions regarding this webinar or regarding something the speakers say, feel free to ask questions. We will do this at the end of the presentation. If we are not coming to answer, if we don't have enough time to answer all those questions, I will make personally sure that you will get the answers as long as we know your whereabouts, of course. But rest assured, you will get an answer from one of the experts. And of course, there are polls to do some interaction with you to see what you think is relevant on this topic. Why this topic? I think the people from China don't know him, but the people in Europe know him. He is the vice president of the European Union, Frans Timmermans, and he has set a goal towards 2030 with a reduction of 55% of CO2 emissions in the European Union by 2030. 55% of all industries, and of course this has an effect on the logistics. It is obvious that it has an effect. We are always talking, or our political people always talk about the negative impacts which logistics has on air pollution, safety, environmental, traffic jams. But don't forget, logistics has a very positive side. It creates buildings, working houses for you and your kids. It creates the supply chain for events, for carnival. I wouldn't go to a carnival without any cool beer or nice beers. So it creates positive, it has a positive effect, I always say, on the livability of a city and the community. So it's not only the negative side, it's the positive side as well. But again, we should do something on our negative impact. And I think we can with electrification of the fleet. Going to some figures, you heard me say that in 2013, we have to have a reduction of 55% in the European Union, in 2050, even by 100%, but we still have 1.2 million trucks with diesel trucks, heavy trucks riding on the European roads every year. So it's a tremendous transition, while we see that an average age of those trucks is 14 years, and there are only 2,500 electric trucks now riding into Europe. So we have a tremendous transition there to do. But if you look to the charging infrastructure, We now charge our diesel trucks with petrol stations. We have over 92,000 petrol stations, commercial petrol stations in the European Union. So we should also look to the infrastructure on charging infrastructure. And the negative side is that we are now, as a transport, it's not only logistics, it's also public transport, but in total, we produce 25% of all the CO2 emissions are emitted by the transport industry. Introducing our speakers, starting with the last one, Peter Damen from Equans. He has, as a child, he already drew pictures of trucks. He always loved trucks, and I believe it's because his father was a truck driver. So he knows it from his genes, I would say. He's particularly interested in sustainability because he believes we have to create a better world. Sanne I know very well. We did some very cool research on the retail distribution, on the electrification of the retail, Sanne. But she is head of the sustainability team from Districon, a consultancy firm, which did a lot of calculation on how fleets, what kind of fleet you need, what kind of infrastructure you need. She will tell us a little, or not a little, she will tell us some insights on that topic. But then starting with Hans, I'm very proud to have you here, Hans. Hans is from the transition team within Scania itself. He is an expert on electric trucks within Scania, and he is going to take us away into what it is all about for Scania, what kind of trucks they have on their planning, on their portfolio, and where you should take care of if you start within the electrification of the trucks. Hans, may I give you the floor?
Yes, of course, René. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this webinar. Let me introduce myself and Scania first shortly. As you already mentioned, René, my name is Hans Binnendijk, and I'm working for the distributor of Scania in Breda as product manager in mobility and sustainable transport. Scania as an OEM was founded 131 years ago, and we all know Scania, I suppose, since we do not have a separate sustainable strategy. When it comes to sustainability, it is in our core of Scania purpose. To maximally support the sustainable goals for our customers and the shift in the market, Scania has a wide range of powertrain systems that run on renewable fuels like HVO, biodiesel, biomethane, and or also electrification, available here and now. Our electrification product portfolio is divided into hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and full battery electrical trucks today. Scania hybrid and plug-in hybrid technology is a combination of the best of both worlds. Both technologies can be operated using an internal combustion engine which can run on renewable fuel, HVO as an example, on the highway, and once the truck enters a zero emission zone, the vehicle can switch to forced electrical driving. By making smart use of the two energy sources on a hybrid truck, we are contributing to the reduction of the emissions. This can be as much as 30 up to 40% lower carbon dioxide. The switching between the internal combustion engine and the electrical drive can be supported by a position-based GPS system, and we call such a system Scania Zone. The Scania plug-in hybrid multi-battery has 3 times more installed electrical capacity than the hybrid single battery. However, the electrical range for a hybrid single battery is potentially up to 17 kilometers, and the plug-in hybrid multi-battery up to 60 kilometers. The plug-in hybrid multi-battery Scania has the possibility to be charged with the grid power using a DC charger. Scania battery electrical product portfolio is available in a version with 5 or with 9 battery packs. Both battery electrical trucks need to be charged with grid power using a DC charger. Scania already has a history with hybrid powertrains. The first Euro 6 hybrid Scania had already been introduced in 2015. This hybrid truck received a technical update in 2019. The first battery electrical platform, as well as the plug-in hybrid, have been introduced in 2020. And from then on, Scania will launch a product update of its electrical platform every year. Soon, we can expect the launch of the Scania first regional battery electrical solutions. The future for Scania is electrification, where every application will be electrified, as well as long-distance vehicles. These vehicles will soon have sufficient electrical capacity to drive for 4.5 hours and a charging capacity to recharge the batteries within 45 minutes. With a product portfolio that includes hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and fully electrical vehicles, transport companies can make the choice they need in a transition to a sustainable future. Hybrid and plug-in hybrid technology for regional and national applications where transport flexibility is required. This technology can achieve maximum carbon dioxide impact when using renewable fuels and lower fuel consumption, and can be zero emission where it needs to be. Battery electrical solutions can already be deployed in the urban environment when it fits into the customer logistic application. To come to a well-considered decision, vehicle data from the transport company is key. With the available vehicle data, we can propose a technical solution involving all stakeholders that consume energy from the vehicle, as well as involving charging solutions. The total analysis will lead to a total solution. The customer business case for different technical solutions is dependent on applications and customer needs. With this short presentation, I hope to have given an insight into which strategy Scania is following in its transition towards full zero emission solutions. Thank you, René, for this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks you, Hans. I see some questions coming in. I would urge the audience to put in their questions in the questions and answer. But the first question I have for you is regarding your hybrid. You still have hybrid in your portfolio, both plug-in hybrids as normal hybrids. And if I look to your competitors, I know you are one of the most innovating companies within the trucking industry, together with some else, I would say, but that's not the topic. Why do you still have hybrids in your portfolio while others don't have? What's the not the use of that, but why, Hans?
Because Scania believes strongly there is no silver bullet solution in the transition towards carbon neutral transport. Scania wants to be a solution provider towards the customer, offering different solutions for the different customer needs. And hybrid technology is one of the technical transport solutions within our modular product portfolio in this transition towards a full zero emission solutions. Ah, okay. I do understand that. I saw in your presentation that you are in 2023, if I'm correct, you have a battery capacity which are able to go beyond 400 kilometers for a very heavy truck, which will be charged within 45 minutes. So my question is, if you look to the future
and if you look to, let's say, beyond 2030, will it then still be the same as it is now within diesel trucks? Will it be short loading up the trucks like we do with diesel trucks? We now have 20 minutes for a petrol station, and so will it in the end be like diesel?
I don't think that the future will be like diesel as we know today, but mega charging capacity will become available. That's also under development by Scania in a joint venture with other OEMs, and we want to collaborate also in that transition with the energy suppliers and also the infrastructure suppliers. And as my picture shows, the roadmap from Scania shows you, we will be able technically to recharge and battery capacity for 4.5 hours to drive within 45 minutes. So within the resting time of the driver today.
That looks tremendous. A question for you regarding our transition period. You saw that we have over 1.2 million trucks still driving with diesel on our European roads. We are looking for a 55% reduction, and in 2050 we all have to, they all have to be changed to or electric or hydrogen. That's another discussion. But are the OEMs ready for this transition and for this demand? I think there will be a huge demand in the near future.
And that's clear. And for us, it is actually an open door answer to answer on, because as I already showed you also in our future roadmap, Scania will be ready with their full EV portfolio by 27, 28 and this decade. And when it comes to our production capacity, we are also ready by 2023 with the applications already available today to produce over 10 up to 15% of the vehicle need in the world. And we will increase that capacity by 2030 up to 50%. So yes, we will be ready. And
you are ready.
Yeah.
Let's go to the audience. We have prepared a poll for them. Let's try to have the poll. The question to the audience is: what is in your, so the audience, your opinion, what has the highest value of hybrid trucks, both plug-in as normal hybrid trucks, compared to full electric? Is it creates more flexibility? Is it makes the transition cheaper? Is it helps us in the transition, or is it has no value at all? May I please have your votes? And if you have any questions to Hans regarding the electrification of the fleet from an OEM point of view, feel free to ask him, because he is here and he can answer your question. I see a lot of, I have to look now at my screen. I think the outcome is clear, like the outcome from the Euro Song Festival is already clear at that moment, but it's clear. I think more than 60%, I think, complies with what you were saying. It creates more flexibility in the planning, because you sort of said that, Hans. Would you elaborate a bit on that? Is that true what the audience says?
I believe so, yes. And I saw also a question in the questionnaire, which problem does the PHEV or the HEV solve? And that's exactly also mentioned in the poll. It solves the flexibility need of our transport companies. Due to the fact that today, the battery capacity doesn't provide the flexibility yet.
Clear, Hans. Thank you. Going to Sanne, I already introduced you as the logistical head of sustainability within Districon. We did some research ourselves, but you did a lot of research on sustainability, on electrification of complete fleets, but also on the infrastructure, both public and private. Could you tell us a little bit about what has the most influence in this transition, and especially on the battery capacity, Sanne? Could I give you the floor?
Yes, of course. Thank you, René, and welcome everyone to this webinar. First, I'm going to share my screen. Yes, so I am Sanne from Districon, and Districon is the supply chain consultancy firm. So we give advice, we build solutions, and we provide professional services within the supply chain. And we do this in the field of logistics centers and operations, network and mobility, and air cargo, and of course, sustainability. We do this globally and for over 45 years now. And currently, we became part of Royal Haskoning. And all our services are data-driven. And for the field of sustainable logistics, I am responsible for the sustainable logistics department within Districon. And if we look into sustainable transport, we determine carbon footprints for companies, but as well within regions. And we do this together with the tooling of Big Mouth. We work on electrification projects. We build optimization tooling for that. And also we make forecasts for charging needs within the future. And we assist companies and governments within their zero emission strategy. But for today, within this webinar, I would like to focus on a recent study which we performed. And I would like to give you some insights on influences on battery levels. So there are a lot of factors that have influence on the battery level. But I would like to show you 8 of them. So the first one is hills. So the flatness of the road has an impact on the battery level. The weather conditions, of course. So the colder it is, the more energy the battery needs. Also, the weight of the cargo within the truck has an impact on the battery level. The charging strategy you choose will have an impact. Are you going to charge only at your distribution center or also maybe at your customers? Then the next factor is the way of driving. So the driver has a large influence on the battery level as well. The state of charge of the battery has an impact on how much of the battery you can actually use. Peak seasons can have a high impact on the battery level. However, this depends on the logistical sector, how large the peaks are. And also the age of the battery has an impact. So the older the battery gets, the less capacity the battery will have.
Thanks, Sanne. And again, to the audience, if you have any questions to Sanne, feel free to ask her, because we will answer them as well. I saw and I know that you did a lot of research also regarding modeling, regarding the needed battery capacity in the complete fleet. That's how we. That's how I know you, and that's how I know Districon. But where should I start? Is if I'm a fleet owner, a shipper, or a carrier, where should I start, Sanne, from your perspective?
Yes. So the transition towards electric is not just buying new electric trucks. There will be a lot of new aspects according to electric driving. So it's very important to start small and explore the possibilities of a few trucks. So start with easy trips. So for example, with a short distance and lightweight, and explore where are you going to charge, how many grid capacity do you need, how many charging points, what are lead times to get the trucks and get the right infrastructure. And then after getting some experience, scale up to a larger part of your fleet.
Oh, thanks. I saw the presentation of you, and the audience saw it as well. All the influences which could be influence the battery capacity. Hans was talking about ranges, but you are talking about battery capacity. I see some differences in that. But what, in your opinion, is the most relevant one, the one we could influence ourselves?
Yes, so in my opinion, the way of driving is the most important factor which you can have influence on. By training the drivers, we could maximize the battery level. So the way of driving could have an impact on the battery level of up to 30%. So that's really a lot. So we can gain a lot of battery capacity by training our drivers.
So it's the throttle of the driver. They shouldn't drive like Max Verstappen, I presume. That's your point.
Yes.
I get it. I get it. I get it. I do understand. We are here at Simacan, monitoring during operation. How interesting is that, monitoring during operation? Is this becoming more relevant, or is it the same word? How do you see monitoring during operations? How do you look at this field?
Yes, so in my opinion, it's really important at this moment to monitor the battery capacity, because for retailers and other companies, it's the most important to deliver all goods on time, because if the goods are not there, they cannot sell any products. So you need to make sure that the truck can finish the trip in order to deliver all the products. And also you don't want additional time to charge, because that takes additional time and also a lot of additional costs.
So monitoring is really important. That's nice. And the same question for you as I had to Hans, but then regarding your point of view, preparing, I would say, not buying assets, but preparing for shippers and carriers. There's a big transition coming up. We saw the numbers for 1.2 million and now 2,500. Where and when should people start? When should our audience start with this transition? And what should be the first thing they should do?
Yeah, so I think within the Netherlands, there's already quite some attention to electric trucks. So for example, this week, the subsidy for electric trucks was launched and was already finished within 1 day. So a lot of companies are already thinking about it. But however, still not everyone started. And it's a quite complex puzzle also to the transition. You should arrange a lot of things and also think about how is this going to fit within my planning. But the most important is do not wait. Start today with exploring the possibilities for your company. So if you wait, you will be too late and you will be forced in the end to make the transition. So I would also ask to the audience, if you still don't know how to start, please ask your questions and maybe we can help you to start.
Thanks. Coming to the audience, we have prepared a poll for them. Is the poll there? What do you as an audience think? You heard, of course, Sanne, but what do you think has the most effect on the battery capacity? Do you think it's the driver, as Sanne told you, but you could also argue, no, my drivers, I explained to them, they are not Max Verstappen. Is it the weight of the cargo? Is it the weather, cold weather? Is it the road profile, hilly roads, more traffic lights? What is, in your opinion, what do you think of that? And I will give the audience still some time to fill in their questions or fill in their results on the poll. We are now at how many percent? I can't see how many percent, but I see a lot of questions or a lot of things coming in. The last one now. I think the audience agrees with you, Sanne. It is the driver. Is it the same driver, Sanne?
Sorry?
Is it the same driver? Are the drivers ready for this? Or should we look for a new kind of driver?
Well, I think when you can drive a truck, you can also drive an electric truck. But driving electric is different than driving a normal truck. So I think training is really important, and we can even make a challenge of it for the drivers. Just play a game with them. Who drives the most energy efficient trip, and give them an award.
Okay. Thanks for that. Are there any questions from the audience coming up? I can't see it, but for Sanne, yeah? Okay, we will answer them later on. Going to Peter. Peter, I already introduced you as the son of your father was a driver, so you have trucking in your genes, I would say. And now you are an expert on the charging infrastructure, leading this transition in the truck industry. I think your father must be very proud of you. I couldn't imagine it otherwise, but please take us away in what is it all about in charging infrastructure.
Yeah, thank you, René, and a pleasure being here. Let me just share my screen right away. So, like René said, my name is Peter Damen. I work at Equens. Equens is a technical service provider employing 5,000 people in the Netherlands and over 70,000 people worldwide. We have been active in the e-mobility domain for over 10 years, having realized over 8,000 charging stations in the Netherlands. And we are also very much focused on the B2B market and the logistics market, with some example projects on the right. Happy to be here to talk about this important topic on how to anticipate on future charging infrastructure if you consider realizing that on your own depot, for example. Well, to take you into the context, what is important to know, the electric charging of e-trucks comes with a very high power demand. So if you imagine this green line to be, let's say, the increase of your electrical trucks in the coming years over time, at a certain point you will hit this red line, which is the maximum available capacity of your local grid connection. And to give you an idea, on the right, if you, for example, would accelerate up to 20 DC chargers, which are fast chargers used for charging trucks of 350 kilowatts, that's actually an equivalent of the energy usage of 400 households. So you can imagine the enormous impact this will have on, let's say, your energy system at your depot. There's an additional challenge, which is called grid congestion, and this is actually very relevant in the Netherlands, but I imagine also in several countries abroad, and that's actually the lack of transport capacity on the electrical grid. And why is that? Well, the electricity grid was not designed, let's say, for charging trucks. So it's important for you as a company, a logistic company, to know what is the capacity of my local grid connection and what is my contracted transport capacity with the grid operator. And you can actually also request this information with your grid operator in order to anticipate on these upcoming changes and to know if you can actually accommodate charging stations of this kind. My last slide before going into the Q&A also represents part of the service provision we do at Equens, but I also would like to mention these are, I would say, logical steps for you to take while moving towards the realization of charging infrastructure. First of all, I would recommend gaining advice, for example, on operations and the business case. So the charging infrastructure needs to be tailor-made to your operations. If your truck, for example, are stationary at night, you can work with, let's say, a lower capacity 50 kilowatt charging station. If you have multiple truck drivers on a truck per day, then you probably need to do higher capacity charging at, for example, the on and offloading docking moments. The design is a very important step. It should be tailor-made to your location. You have a current electrical system, you have other consumers, big electrical installations. How can we best fit this new type of installation in? And furthermore, if, for example, a grid expansion is not possible at your location, we can look into alternative solutions, such as local power generation through solar panels. I'd also like to briefly relate to the maintenance and support part. Don't focus only on the CapEx part. There's also a high importance in getting your maintenance right. And I would advise to work with a trustworthy party in order to maximize your uptime. And when it comes to the support part, back office system, this will help you, for example, do the administration. There's actually also a possibility to link your charging stations to the data of your trucks through telematica to optimize your planning and to integrate this optimally in your operations and in your software. That's it for now from my side. Happy to answer your questions during the Q&A.
Thanks, Peter. You talked about the grid, about the infrastructure, that this is an issue in certain parts, in certain regions. But what can I do about it? I have a trucking company. I have several trucks. I see this coming towards this transition. There are alternatives, you say, solar panels, battery capacity installing. But where should I start from your perspective?
Yeah, I would start. If you have the ambition to create or to realize charging infrastructure at your own site, I would start exploring or analyzing your current grid connection and your transport capacity. And once you know that, you can see if you need to request an expansion in order to accommodate future charging infrastructure. And you can do so with your grid operator. If that's not possible, for example, due to grid congestion problems, we can look into alternatives, such as indeed local energy generation. And as a matter of fact, this can be beneficial to your business case as well. So if you, for example, have solar panels installed, or you are open to installing solar panels, you can apply for a subsidy called hernieuwbare brandstofeenheden, which is renewable fuel units, if you like. That can really help your business case. So the good news is, I think, also with this challenge of grid congestion, we can find solutions to help you electrify.
Thanks. We are here at Simacan. You heard my question to her regarding the monitoring and predicting what kind of battery capacity is still left. Is this also relevant for the charging infrastructure, to know what is coming back to your distribution center? Could it help in load balancing, in next trip planning? How do you see this ecosystem in the future?
Yeah, I think the integral connection is critical. So it would be very relevant to know the state of charge of your truck coming in, and also to plan, let's say, your charging dockings and communicate to the driver the duration of charging required. Furthermore, load balancing is a very critical part, which I highly recommend investigating, because it can actually also save costs. So load balancing as well as energy management, I think, is critical to not do the expansion of your grids, yes, but not too much. If we can lower that bar by being smart with load balancing and energy management, that will be, of course, the preference.
Okay. Now I know that the charging infrastructures are coming in many sizes. You have the let's say the slow ones and the superchargers. They come in many prices as well. How do I make a plan, an investment plan for the future when I have a fleet? I could even argue, should I not do this together with my neighbors, with the industry where well, your neighbors, I would say, or your competitors, I even could argue. But how do I make such a plan of the infrastructure itself, not looking to the grid?
Yeah, I think it's good to look at the nature of your operations and indeed to see if you can collaborate. So it's very well possible that transporters will be charging actually at the shippers or at their own depot, but I think it's a new type of collaboration that we'll see arising in the market. When it comes to an investment plan, I would focus on obviously getting a clear picture of the type of charging stations you need. That has to do with the type of trucks you choose and the nature of your operation once more. Look into the investments needed for either, let's say, the grid expansion or the integration of, let's say, local energy generation systems. And again, do not forget, if you make your investment plan, please don't forget to focus on the maintenance part as well. So that would be my advice whilst creating an investment plan, while also looking at the longer term. So please anticipate on what will be coming in 2 or 3 years, and not only what's coming next year, because let's say the waiting list at grid operators in certain regions for expansions can actually take over a year.
So it's a very complex field after all. I would argue. Same question for you, Peter. We saw the numbers: 1.2 million trucks now driving with diesel in Europe. We have to do a big transition. Is the market ready for it? We gain a lot of interest on this webinar. I think you could fill your days with it, Peter. So thanks again for being here. But is the market ready for it? Where should they start?
So that's I think there's multiple answers to that question. If I look at the clients that we're in touch with, logistical companies, part of them understands the urgency, but it's also a part of the market that is not fully aware of what's coming. So I also think that's an important part of the market to mention. Logistical companies also should anticipate on this. If I look at, let's say, the solution providers, just like Scania said, I think we're ready. Also in terms of hardware, charging stations, back office suppliers, technology is evolving fast. There is, however, the challenge at the grid operator side, and we should just collaborate, be smart, also look at the legislation side of let's say, how the grid is currently operated to find solutions. So yes, the market is ready, technology is available. The sense of urgency, in my opinion, could be a big bigger, and that's why I think this webinar is of such importance.
Thanks. We have prepared a poll for the audience, and again, it's their opinion. And please, if you have any questions to Peter, ask us, because we will go to the questions after this. But the poll is, if the poll is, yeah, I see the poll coming. What are, in the audience opinion, the biggest issue to be solved in charging? Is it the limited grid capacity connection, logo grid? Is it the integration of the total fleet within their daily operation? So driver education, online monitoring, booking the charging infrastructure? Is it the planning of the charging within the trips or between the trips? Or is it the availability of the public or charging infrastructure? Because perhaps you could, before we, you still have time to answer this question, but Peter, during these questions, perhaps you can answer, are there already charging stations for trucks, for electric trucks in Europe now operating?
Yes, absolutely. So we ourselves have realized several charging stations for trucks in the Netherlands, for example, several projects. The public charging infrastructure for trucks, dedicated for trucks, is let's say less evolved. We do see trucks actually standing at fast charging spots that are actually meant for passenger cars, which is not really the idea, but that also gives a picture about the need for this public infrastructure as well. So yes, charging infrastructure has been realized. We need to work on, for example, also the public charging infrastructure.
Okay, going back to the poll, I think the audience is and Peter, could you please not share your screen, because then everybody can see each other again. Stop sharing things. Now I see the poll results, and again, yeah, the audience agrees with you. It's the grid capacity, but you already elaborate a bit on that. You think it's a Dutch problem or it's a European problem?
So I'm mostly aware of the Dutch market. What I believe is that the problem is a bit more urgent in the Netherlands compared to other countries. So if I'm correct, in France it's a bit less of an issue. But let me say this: I think it will become, this grid congestion issue will become an international problem, as none of the electrical grid systems worldwide have been designed to adopt this. So I think at the Netherlands it's a bit more urgent, but I'm pretty sure this is an international challenge.
And is it first come, first serve? If I'm a logistic service provider and I go to my infrastructure and I say I need this, and I have I'll get the grid capacity. Do I then have a competitive edge against my competitors?
Yeah, I do think there's truth to that. There's a first come, first serve basis. Yeah, so it is helpful to, let's say, anticipate on this. Priority is also being given to let's say, schools and other medical places. And I do believe you should use the expansion that you request. But yes, at this point, I would say that's true.
That's true. Okay, let's see if we have some questions of the audience. Can I have the first question? Oh, then I must. It's my fault. Sorry for that. Okay, the question from somebody from the audience for Sanne. Sanne, what's the expectation of the new generation solid-state batteries in the future? So where are we heading to, Sanne?
Yeah, I think Hans is the best person to answer this question, actually.
Maybe yes. What's the expectation on solid state batteries in the future, or new generation solid state batteries? Let me answer it in this way. When new technologies becomes robust enough for heavy duty applications, when new technology becomes viable enough for the heavy duty trucks, then it will enter the market.
Okay, Sanne, could you what's your opinion on that one? Because this is sort of less politically correct. But what did you saw from the past? What would be your educated guess on this?
Oh, yeah, well, I expect batteries to become more efficient, so the ranges will be larger, and also the weight of the batteries will be less.
Okay. Going to the next question. The role of the driver may also imply an argument for autonomous vehicles. Yeah, that's correct. We already have a lot of issues with workforce in Europe. Yeah, that's correct, I think. And the driver availability in the freight sector. Yeah, I think this is totally correct. So how do we see autonomous in this field? That the question is, who will answer that? I think it's fair to say that autonomous will definitely be electric. That would be my argument. So from the charging infrastructure, yeah, we could argue, should that also be autonomous then? But Sanna, how do you see the autonomous evolving?
I think it would be really interesting to solve our problem with drivers for it. However, I think it will take a long road to get to the autonomous driving because of all the regulations, the responsibilities of who's responsible if an accident happens. I think we have a long road ahead of us where we should deal with the lack of drivers for the coming years. So I think we should look into other solutions to deal with it.
And I think it will start with long haul. I don't think it will start with urban distribution. That would be my answer for it. And
Yeah.
again, one for Sanna. You are very popular in this in the question. Typically, trucks consume around 1.1 to 1.5 kilowatt hours up to more than 2 kilowatt hours per kilometer. There are a lot of differences. That's true.
Yeah.
But that's of course very depending on the truck's mission. Where do I go? What kind of weight do I have? The drive style, the vehicle combination. Do you have an overview of the typical consumption patterns by the total combination weight, truck mission, and truck type? This is somebody really knows his business. I don't know who asked it, but he really knows his business, or she really knows his business, because Sanna has to provide the answer for this, or anyone, if Hans has the answer, feel free, Hans.
I think it's a really interesting question because recent we did a study about these numbers, and we looked into what literature is available about those numbers. However, there are not a lot of heavy trucks driving on the roads yet. So there are not a lot of experience at this moment. So I think we should have more electric trucks to gain all the right numbers. But from the literature, indeed, there's a wide range of the energy consumption. I saw even numbers up to 4 instead of 2. So there are really a lot of factors that have an influence. And actually today, the report of the study we did has been published.
Oh, really?
And there, yes, so it's on the website of Top Sector Logistiek. And there you can already find a brief overview of some numbers within the literature. However, it's not on all the aspects which are mentioned in the question.
Ah, you have a scoop, Sanna, on this report. I would argue again that if there are so many different numbers in the use of the energy, monitoring would be even more interesting than as it is already. For Peter, a question. Are there any initiatives in making a general app for truck companies that can use to make reservations on the charging infrastructure, slot times for quick charging and public? Are there already apps, Peter? Are you there, Peter?
Yes, an apology.
You didn't unmute yourself. Sorry.
So This topic is an interesting question because it's been recently discussed. I don't know of an app existing today, but if you talk about making reservations for publicly available charging infrastructure, I know it's been recently discussed at the NAL, so that's National Agenda for Charging Infrastructure in the Netherlands. So this initiative is being discussed as we speak, and I expect a high need for such an app. It's not, by my knowledge, not available today.
Yeah, if I may add something to that, actually, we are performing the research for the NAL about this topic. So we are exploring what is available and also what are the needs. So if someone who is attending this webinar has some thoughts about it, please let me know. Yeah, it's really high on the agenda at this moment.
And then I think, giving the time, one of the last questions, what is the expectation for the role of electric trucks regards to V2G? What's V2G? I'm
Vehicle to grid, I suppose.
Vehicle to grid, yeah. Sorry, but it's, yeah. Well, Peter, I think you should answer this question.
Yeah, maybe Hans has some thoughts as well. I think there's a role to play for trucks for sure.
Yes.
We are investigating V2G technology for passenger cars. Currently, we're doing some pilots in the Netherlands. And I think if you look at the capacity of the batteries in trucks, I mean, big potential there. I think to let's say interact with the grid to truck in order to basically use our energy system even smarter. So yes, for me, there will be a role to play for trucks in the V2G technology.
Mm. And this also has an effect on the load balancing, because I presume.
Well, it's even further than just a local smart load balancing technology. This could actually connect, let's say, mobility with cities on a larger scale. So this is the type of interaction that goes even broader than just a local solution.
Okay. And now the last question for Peter or Sanne. And again, as said, we will make sure that all questions are answered by us or by our experts here. So we will make sure, as long as we know your whereabouts. But the last question is, what are the next steps to evolve to an integrated logistics planning, charging reservation, and electric grid integration? Peter or Sanne, what would be the next step to evolve to such an integrated logistic planning?
Really briefly, I would say start doing pilots as soon as possible with clients to just answer this in a hands-on mentality. I think there's quite some technology on the market to do this, and I think it will be an act of collaboration on the market in order to do this. But I think between OEMs of trucks, with back office suppliers, with the hardware suppliers, I think we can make a next step on this, and I say it should be an interaction with the market in order to start testing this.
Sanne, what would your answer be? Sort of less the same as Peter, just start somewhere?
Yeah, I agree with Peter, because it's a really complex puzzle and we cannot give the one solution. It's really depending on the company and their way of working.
Hans, what would be your opinion on that one?
Yeah, it's I fully agree with Sanne, because the logistic and also the transport need is different with the different companies. So start with small initiatives and then grow in towards the future. Thanks.
As said, we will answer all questions which were done by the audience. It is over 3 o'clock, I believe 1 minute past 3 it is. So, and we said we would end by 3. I would love to start thanking the audience. Nice to have you here from all parts of the world. I definitely would thank the speakers, both Peter and Hans, and Sanne, of course. And I also would love to thank my colleagues here, Robert, for helping me in moderating this, and Sharon and Tom for the technical things. Again, we will send you, the presentation will, of course, be sent to all people who were in the audience. Thank you for your time. And well, we hope to see you again with our next webinar or our next event. And if you have any questions to me, feel free to ask me. I think you know where to find me. Thanks for your time and hope to see you next time. Thanks.